My name is Zerbanoo Gifford. I'm the founder of the Asher Centre, which is a place in the Forest of Dean in Britain, which I suppose is really for the enrichment and enlightenment and empowerment of young people from all over the world. I'm also an author of 7 books, mostly on inspirational historical characters. I'm the president of the World Zoroastrian Organisation, which is one of the major world religions. People like Freddie Mercury, Zubin Mehta, the Tartars, Industrial House. We're only 100,000 in the world, but we're the oldest monotheism in the world. I'm a grandmother of 4. I've been very fortunate in life. I've received many, many awards, including International Woman of the Year for my humanitarian work. I have been director of Anti-Slavery International, which is the oldest human rights organization in the world. My first job was as a volunteer for Shelter, which is the homeless charity in Britain, and then I became the London organizer. I've been in politics. I made history by being elected as a councillor for the Liberals, the first non-white woman in Britain. And I could go on and on and not bore you all. So what questions do you want to ask me?
So this channel is about helping young people to self-actualize, to find themselves in life, find their passion, and to develop those traits which will help them get there. Today I'm wondering if you have any story that you would like to share with them.
Yes. Some years back, a friend of mine who ran the Elephant Family charity, which looked to preserving Indian elephants. It was started by somebody who's now died, called Mark Shand, who was the Queen of England's brother. And they were very conscious that there was a community in India called the Gujar community in the Himalayas that were being displaced by elephants. I told them that I couldn't fundraise for elephants, but I could fundraise for human beings for my charity. So anyway, I never give money to anybody unless I see what they're doing at the grassroots. So I have to actually see the people who are involved, look them in the eye, and make up my mind whether I want to invest in the work they're doing. So we went up to the Himalayas together, Ruth and I, and we were on a stage together, which had been put together in the village, and everybody in the audience were men, and all the people in power sitting alongside us were men. And I asked, where were the women? And I was told the women had no power and they were in the houses and they weren't allowed to come. I am a feminist and I spent my whole life working to empower people who are downtrodden. So I made it very clear to the men, especially the chief there, that the women had to come. And he said, no, it wasn't possible. So I just looked him in the eye and I said, it's not possible for me to give you any money. I'm going back to England. They got very nervous because I didn't want that to happen. So the women were allowed to come out. And then I said to them, I would like to talk to the women privately. So they had a sort of broken down shed in the village. And we went in there and we closed the doors. And I said to the women, I said, what would you really like? Tell me. I'm a woman. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. Tell me what you would like. And they said, we don't want sewing machines. Everybody comes, all these NGOs come and they think we women, we need sewing machines to sew. What we want is a mobile clinic. So I said, okay, I will organize with the government that a mobile clinic comes every month to your village and, and looks after you and your families. I said, what else do you want that I can help you with? So they said, we'd like a buffalo. So I said, why do you want a buffalo? They said, the buffalo is the wealth in the community because we get everything from the buffalo milk, the butter, the food, the ghee, the skins, everything. So I said, okay. So I said, well, I will start by paying for the first buffalo, and I will call it Buffalo Bill. So everybody started laughing. So I gave them money for the first buffalo, and I promised them that I would go back to England, I would fundraise and make sure that every woman in the village owned a buffalo, which I did. I went back some years later, and the whole structure of the society had changed. People were equal. They were giving respect to women and to girls because they held the money. They held the wealth in the community. And it wasn't difficult. It was just by listening to what people want. It was, I suppose, taking the bull by the horn, the buffalo's horns, making it happen. I have spent so much of my life going to endless conferences, and we talk till the cows come home about how to empower people, and we don't do it. We just meet, we talk, we go away. We've got to change our attitude now. We've got to actually make things happen. And it can only be done by human beings connecting with each other, listening to each other, and then being big-hearted and just doing it. And I fear that we don't do that. When we first started Asher, years and years ago, we had a charity that was teaching young people about leadership. In those days, leadership was the big thing. Everybody wanted to be a leader. Anyway, they were here, they were doing their course, they were doing all these exercises to become a leader. And at that time, we were creating Asher because we built it from nothing. There was literally nothing here. We put all the trees, all the roses, all the grass, everything has been brought and done by volunteers. So I said to the person who was organizing the group, do you think the young people would help me just for an hour? We have to move all these stones. We're laying out the labyrinth, which they can use, but we need to move the stones from the entrance of the Asher estate to the back of the estate. And I said, we can make it into a game of leadership, of how they work together to create something positive and wonderful. He turned to me and he said, no. He said, that's not on the schedule. And my young people refuse to work. They haven't come here to work. So I said to him, it's not work. I said, it is creating something for the future for other young people. I said, how wonderful to be able to come back here or to go away and to know that you had created something that generations after you are going to use and benefit from. I said, who is going to benefit from you talking to each other about leadership? The charity closed down 3 years later. You see, you're not sustainable if you don't actually work for humanity. And I find that there's too many people and too many young people going on courses, talking to each other, putting things on the web, going viral, talking nonsense to each other. And they're not actually focusing their minds on being magnificent human beings. We've come to this world to be wonderful, to transform the world into something beautiful and wonderful for other people. We haven't come into this world to earn money. And if I hear another person say to me, what I want to do, my dream is to make a lot of money, I think I'll vomit. I mean, it is appalling. And it is because the media, even parents, even our elders, value system is all wrong. They're telling young people the thing you have to do is to make money, to have a beautiful house, to have the biggest car, to mess up your face, operate on your face when you're a young girl, put poison Botox into your face because you're more beautiful to a man. How is that? You're beautiful when you're yourself, when you're natural. You're beautiful when you're kind to people. People love you. And I can't understand what is happening in the world. For example, when I was little, when we were on the bus, I would automatically get up for an older person. I didn't think about it. Now what happens is, here I am, I'm in my mid-70s, I'm on a bus, my knees are paining me, So what the woman on the bus on the seat is doing is putting her child on the seat next to her, and she won't let her child get up because the child has to sit on the seat. Now, our value system has gone mad. You see, we're teaching the young people to be selfish. Everybody is being taught to be selfish. You have to get the best grades. You have to get the best job. You have to get the best house. You've got to go traveling around the world, polluting the world. You don't have to go traveling around polluting the world. You can watch wonderful things on television. And if you're going to other parts of the world, you can offer to work there. You can work at the grassroots helping people. When we were young, we would do that. We would go on a gap year and we'd actually work. Nobody does that anymore. So it's a complete topsy-turvy world we're living in now. And my only message to young people is there's nothing like kindness, nothing in the world. And there's one thing I know, that as you sow, so shall you reap. Whatever you do, your kindness comes back to you. Whatever nasty things you do comes back to you. That is the law of nature. It's like a boomerang. It comes back at you. Why not be kind? Why not be loving to people? And the world changes for you. You yourself feel better. You yourself become more beautiful because you're radiating a gorgeousness, because you're doing something that's wonderful. And I believe very strongly, Peter, that there is a day of judgment. When you die, I believe as a Zoroastrian, you cross a bridge and you are judged. And you can't say, oh, forgive me, I made a mistake, it was bad. You have to, as I said, you have to reap what you sowed. And you have to face that. And you have to face all the happiness you gave somebody. You'll experience that again on death. And you'll also experience all the unhappiness you gave to other people. So I would recommend that you're nice to people, because there's no escape in life. There's no escape from karma. There's no escape. So, and you have come into the world with a contract. You haven't come in just for no reason whatsoever. You've come in and you've told the higher beings before you arrived, this is what I want to do. This is my contract. This is what I'm going to give. This is my unique gift that I'm going to give the world. How wonderful is that? And how wonderful to be able to say, yes, I've done that when you're dying.
What would you recommend to people who are struggling to find their passion or their calling? How to go about finding it?
Well, it's very simple. It's very, very simple. Life is simple and we make it complicated. Every day you are in contact with people. So make sure that whatever help they need, you give them. And then through that, you'll find your passion. So, for example, let me give you just a very little example. When I was a little girl, I used to work very hard in our family hotel in West London. And every summer, I used to go to my grandmother in India because my parents were always working. And we had long summer holidays from school. And I would see the poor children in Pune, which is now called Pune. And I used to think, well, I couldn't understand it because they were the same age as me and they were literally taking food off the roads in those days. And I thought, I knew even as a little girl that this was wrong. Why was I so fortunate? I couldn't work out why I was so fortunate and things were so difficult for them. So when I came back, I told my parents I wanted to do something for them. And my parents said, well, please do whatever you want to do. And so I made little flags and I stood outside our hotel and I sold the flags for 1 penny. In those days, 1 penny was the least piece of money. And everybody was delighted to help a little girl. Everybody was sort of charmed and they would put the money in and take their flags that I'd made for them. And then I got £10 and I wanted to send it for the poor children in Pune. So my parents said, you'll have to write a letter to the then Prime Minister of India, Pandit Nehru. So I wrote him a letter and said, please would you use this? and didn't expect any letter back. I got a letter back from the Prime Minister saying, thank you so much, and if every little girl in the world did what you did, there wouldn't be any poverty. Now, that inspired me. I was a little girl, but it inspired me. I don't know any politician today who'd do that unless they had a photo opportunity with the little girl. This was a little girl halfway around the world that he would never see. And the story doesn't end there. It's so funny how life is circular, because I went on to get, for my political and humanitarian work, the Nehru Centenary Award. I was the only woman to get it. Extraordinary. So there was a tie-up getting to Nehru. And then even unbelievable, that led me on to working with street children later on in life, and working with the Catholic Church, with Father Fonseca. And we built a home. I did an appeal. I did a television program. I would have never done television work, but that led me on to doing television work. It led me on to meeting politicians, editors. I did a huge appeal, national appeal. I met Mother Teresa, and she wrote a prayer for me. So when she died, I read it on BBC television. So when you put yourself out and you do things as a volunteer, you help people, it has an effect. It's like dominoes. Other things happen. So you have to just say, I'm going to do what I know is good. And then you'll find your purpose very easily. But if you think that all I've got to do is sit outside and play on some silly computer game, you're not going to get anywhere, because you're not interacting with other human beings. And you will know your passion. You will know your purpose. And sometimes it takes time. I say to young people when they come to the Asher Centre, it doesn't happen instantly. You'll come to the Asher Centre and you'll think about, what is my purpose? And you'll think, what do I want to do? And it might not come immediately. You might have to just go back to work or do your everyday business. But it'll suddenly come like a eureka moment, and you'll know what you want to do. You'll just know and you will do it. But you have to be open. You can't be closed. You can't be looking inside yourself all the time. You have to be open, looking to other people, and it'll be a kind of catalyst. Being wide, being really, as I say to everybody, be magnanimous, be magnificent. It's your life. You want to, when you're old, sit back and think, what did I do that was really groundbreaking, changed other people's lives?
Well, do you think there are any traits or habits that will help us on the way to success?
Yes. Just little things. Habits are very important, because habits can lead on to you doing the right thing. I think it's important to, at the beginning of the day, if you don't pray, that doesn't matter, but just ground yourself, just like you made me do before the interview. Just give yourself a minute of grounding, protect your whole being, and know that it's a very precious day, and that you have to make an impact in that day. And at the end of the day, when you're lying in bed, or before you lie in bed, I think it's quite a good idea to write down what you've learned that day. Just write down, even if it's 2 or 3 points. I've learned, for example, today I've learned from Peter that even if I'm tense and rather agitated, which I was before the interview, because I had a very bad morning, you can just relax yourself, calm down, and there's no need to be like that. So that would be my learning curve for today, and I'd write that in my book. And then I would close my eyes, and I always say my prayers every night. But just, again, whatever you want to do, just say thank you. Or just think of all the wonderful things that have happened, the good things. And there's always something that's good. Besides what you've learned, there's always something good that you've enjoyed. I think that's important. My father used to say to me, I used to do things, and I'd say to him, I can't understand it. there's so much unkindness and stuff. And he would just say to me, he'd be very sweet, and he'd say to me, they crucified Jesus. You know, some people don't understand. They have no idea. They don't understand when somebody like you is offering them something so fabulous and something actually groundbreaking work you're doing. It's pioneering. And they're scared to take part because it's something that they don't know about, because they're not open. They want something that somebody said, oh, I've given 5 stars to it. So you have to accept that. But when you're doing new work and bringing new energy into the world, it's difficult. It's not easy. And you have to realize that it's important work you're doing. You will start feeling it, because more and more people will experience the work you do, and therefore more and more people will be grateful, and they'll be putting that gratitude into the universe for you. I mean, you sometimes just need a road sign. You know, the road to Damascus. How did Saul become Paul? This is a period of history where action is needed.
Yeah.
Action is needed. You know, grounding, meditation, mindfulness is all important, but it should lead to action. To just become, what is the word? It's not a monk. It's just to become isolated and to meditate for yourself. For me, that's not the way.
Yeah.
That's not the way. If you want to do it, I mean, I would never stop anybody doing it. You have to do what you want to do. But it's not giving of yourself. It's about yourself. So it's getting nirvana for yourself. I want you to get nirvana for the whole world.
Yeah.
And that is only through action.
Yeah.
And good action. And everybody knows what is goodness. Everybody has a conscience. They know when they're not doing good, and they know when they're doing good.